Hello there, players of all classes. Today, I want to talk to you about Natwuns' Tome of Mystical Tattoos. But before we even get into what's in the book, I'm going to drop it right now, right at the beginning. I hate the way they implemented tattoos into 5e. I just absolutely hate the implementation. I just hate it. I hate it so much. I made a TikTok and then I brought it over here to YouTube and it's just dumb. It's so, like, defeats the purpose of what a tattoo is for, okay? It makes me so mad. The idea that you can make this tattoo, like, somewhere, suck it out with a needle, and then just touch the needle to someone, and over the course of an hour, they have this tattoo. I understand that you needed to balance them as far as magic items go, but this is stupid because so many of them could have just been a feat that you learned or something, or like this is a downtime activity that would have made so much more sense. Because again, tattoos are something that are supposed to be special to you. You have to earn them one way or another. And this implementation of you being able to suck the tattoo off and put it back on someone to reattune, that you can even move it between people, is so silly. It's such a silly way to implement it. Why not have that player, like, that's their downtime activity? They're getting this tattoo done. They're getting the magic worked into it. They have an artisan who's like filling the magic, like just giving them the magic. That makes so much more sense. I will say there is a whole class in this book. There's a tattooist class now, someone who will basically just be using mystical tattoos until they get to like the real high levels, and then they might attune to another item. But each of the tattoos take up an attunement slot. And the class abilities here are like, oh, if you get to a certain level and you have a certain number of tattoos, then you can get more tattoos. More, kind of like the artificer can attune to more magic items. This one can attune to more tattoos. And yes, there are later on, we'll talk about like tattoo sets that you can get that will give you powers based on like how many pieces of it you have together. That's neat. But the idea that a player is just going to use tattoos and like they can't attune to anything else is wild. So what I just mentioned is the official 5e implementation of this design was on someone, or you drew it on someone and then you sucked it in with a magic needle, or the tattoo is already in the needle and you just bought the needle and you give it to someone, they press it up against their skin somewhere and the tattoo appears, usually just after a long rest. And that's silly. That's not, I hate that. I especially hate that you can be like, suck it off you and give it to someone else. That's, oh, it makes me so upset. I'm like, I don't have anything against tattoos at all. I think tattoos are cool. I don't personally want any, but like, it's a cool idea, and it's even cooler that you can suffuse the design with magic. You have a new ability. That's awesome. I love that. Just hate the implementations. That once came up with an alternative method where you draw a design in a sketchbook, and I was like, okay. So I was thinking, oh, this is great. You have the design here. It is a one of a kind design. Sure. And then they're like, and then you take the needle and you suck it off your design and you put it on someone's skin. And I was like, no, you were so close. And then I was like, how would I reflavor this if it was going to work in my world? Well, you could draw it on the sketchbook, but when you rip the page out of the sketchbook, you can put that page like on someone's skin and it'll spread out and make like a stencil that you can draw on. And I was like, that could work in my world and it would make more sense, because I'm not going suck it off with a needle and put it in. That's dumb. That's so dumb. Because like a tattoo is supposed to be meaningful to you. You have to earn it. You got to sit there and have the work done. You're paying an artisan to do this. This book does a lot of assuming that a lot of people have the same exact tattoo. And while I'm sure that happens in the wild, like I said on TikTok, I'm sure that happens in the wild where people have very similar tattoos. Most people's tattoos are different from every other person's tattoo. That's kind of the beauty of having a tattoo. It's something you really care about. So it means something to you. Now, as we go through this book, I'm going to read you what I have written down as notes in order of how they appear in the book, because that's just how I took the notes. Me writing down the notes in order, and this is the same thing I've done with like Kibble's Guide and stuff like that. Me writing the notes down in the order that the stuff appears in the book means that it's easier for me to find those pages as I'm going through the editing portion. And now I'm just going to pop that page up either like here or like here somewhere, and you can see what I'm talking about while it's there. The other thing I want to say before I get into any of this is huge thank you to Grimjack for basically sponsoring this video, because he kickstarted the Tome of Mystical Tattoos, and that means that I get to read it too. So thank you, man. Love you, bud. This is all thanks to you. The book adds something in that makes a lot more, like, you needed an artisan's tool to be able to make these stuff, so they made tattooist tools. And tattooist tools are written in this book as a hammer and chisel, but the chisel, you put the needles into the chisel so that you can suck, and when you tap them, all of the ink that has the magic in it is magnetic, and it just like whoa pulls the ink into the needles, which is a bit strange to say specifically, like, not that it's arcanely imbued or something like that, that it is magnetic ink specifically that you need, which leads me to believe, like, if there's a Magneto in the world, you may have some problems, because he'll just be like, "Is that man wearing magnetic ink? Whoa," and just rip it off you, which, ow, though at least in this case, it's not like really in your skin, under your skin kind of deal. Maybe it is, but it would probably just fall right off, because a lot of these tattoos have some ability where you can be like, haha, and the tattoo just comes off your body, which leads me to believe it's only like surface level. It's not like you're really getting a tattoo, even though it says it comes from a needle. Like, it doesn't seem like it's really under the skin and they're gonna rip it through. There is a little part in here that's like, hey, it might cause you pain for that tattoo to come off. Maybe if you get cut, but the tattoo will stay because it's magic. It'll just form around whatever scar you have. I guess that part I'm not worried about. The dismemberment part is, if you lose a limb that you have a tattoo on, because it's magic, the tattoo just moves to some other part of your body, whatever body part makes the most sense. I don't like that. Like, if I have a tattoo and it's giving me magic powers, that means that limb, like wherever it is now a target for someone to stop it. I would ignore that completely if I was running it in my world. Like, if you have a magical tattoo on your forearm and somebody cuts your arm off, that tattoo's gone, bro. Like, no. They went for the biggest threat there was, and they removed it. Literally. There are multiple kinds of ink in this book, which I guess makes it a little bit different than everyone having the same exact tattoo. Like, it's made out of different ink, but like, for all intents and purposes. For all intents and purposes. I said enchants and purposes. Yeah, basically it is an enchantment. Sure. Yep. Like, unless it's glowing or invisible. And like, a lot of these, like, lore-wise, if you saw someone with this tattoo, you'd be like, ugh. So having it be an invisible ink sort of makes sense, but nobody's gonna pay for invisible ink, man. The prices for them, depending on like how common they are, and then like where they are on your body, determines the price. It's good that there's a table for that, because that is important. But these are also things that, like, you need an artisan for, so you'll have to find that person. Like, maybe you search through tattoo parlors to find the right tattoo artist for you. That makes total sense. And if you are playing the Tattooist class, you may have to go find other masters, other inspirations to figure out how to draw the tattoos. That also makes total sense. It's not like everybody's selling the same tattoos. At least they kept that part of it. Like, normally when you go searching for a tattoo, you want to find the right artist to put the right design on you. But it has to speak to you in some way, shape, or form. That part at least makes sense to me. So, your tattooist. If you want to be this class, what are you building for your quick build? You're going in with Constitution as your highest ability score, which is nice. Then Dexterity It's one of the only classes I've seen ever where your con has to be 13 or higher in order to multi-class into them. Because again, you're using your body as the canvas. And you get 1d8 health per level in this class. So they're actually pretty beefy. Plus, you're building con as your main stat. So you're going to get the bonuses of your con modifier as you level up. So they're honestly relatively beefy as characters. Now, you are technically a spellcaster. You're using magic to make your tattoos to make your tattoos do things. Sure. Yes. But you don't learn spells like a wizard. They don't come out of you like a sorcerer. The spells that you're mostly going to be using are what this class calls spellbangers. If you see someone cast a spell, you remember that for an amount of time, like how it's supposed to be, and then you draw a design on your fingertips or something very small. You design them on your own body, and they're spellbangers. You bam, and that spell comes out, and then you've lost that design. You have to draw a new design to get a new spell. So it's not like you have warlock kind of spells where you just have 2 most of the time and then you have to go take a nap. It's like you have to see someone cast a spell or know how a spell works, draw that design on, and then when you go into combat, say you had one on each of your 4 fingers on your right hand, you'd be like bang, 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 bang. You're out of spells until you put more spells on, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of I have to be ready for this. And you want to be able to watch what's happening. If I saw that happen, I'm going to do that too. So there's almost like a weird magical muscle memory having. And if you want to flavor this some type of way, I would absolutely go for I know how it looks, and I believe so much in the expression of my drawing. I can recreate spell effects by just putting a little drawing on my finger and being I know that it's supposed to blast this way, bang. And basically you're working with sort of like high level illusions where they're basically just warping reality, but this is your art warps reality around you. I think that's a cool way to flavor it. But to make that even better, you have an ability called sketchy imitation. And what this is whenever you see a bard, sorcerer, warlock, or wizard cast a spell, it just has to be from their spell list. It could be somebody else, but it's a spell that has to be on one of those 4 spell lists. You make an ability check and as a reaction. And if you pass the check, which is 10 plus the spell's level, that's the DC, and it uses your Tattooist spellcasting ability. Constitution is your spellcasting ability modifier, if you weren't sure. Which, this might be the only class I've ever seen that does that. But it makes sense. And let me tell you, it would also make sense if it was sorcerers, because it's literally coming out of their blood. But hey, whatever. You make a check using your Constitution modifier. And then the check is 10 plus whatever the spell's level was. If it came off the bard, sorcerer, warlock, or wizard spell list, you can make a copy. And then for the next month, if you take time to sketch that in your book, you can make a spellbanger out of it. If you've made one spellbanger out of that spell, you know that spell forever. You can keep making spellbangers out of it. If you don't sketch that spell's design within the next month, you'll have to go see it again. You'll have to go see someone cast it again in order to be able to write it down via sketchy imitation. So there's a weird downtime thing where there's downtime, but actually applying the tattoos, no downtime. It's just, I took my long rest, boom, which I get, okay, let me take that back. That's technically downtime, yes, but what I mean by downtime is a long period of time, longer than 1 day. So sketchy imitation stays in your head for 1 month, but actually drawing and applying a tattoo is just one long rest. Stupid. I hate that. I hate the way tattoos are implemented. It drives me nuts. And you can do sketchy imitation a number of times equal to your con mod. So it's not your proficiency bonus, it's your constitution modifier. I love the idea of spellbangers. The idea that I saw a spell go by and I was like, do I think I could do that? I think I can. And then you went and did it. That's a really cool ability. And part of me is like, I want to make that into a feat for people. I think that that's fantastic. Like, could I? If this is something that I could cast and I saw it happen, could I? I love the idea of sketchy imitation. Now, you start with your empty enchanted sketchbook, so that's 100 full pages for you to work with. But I think flavor-wise, it makes way more sense for the average person who's becoming a tattooist to have a book that has like X number of pages. Like you roll a D100, that's how many pages you actually have. Or it's a hand-me-down book with some designs from your mentor or someone who inspired you. I think that makes way more sense than the book being just totally blank when you start. The way the sketchbook works is you can put a different design on like every page for sure. But that also means like you can hold 100 designs at a time plus whatever happens to be on your body or someone near you's body at any given time. But I feel like that's too much unless you want to spend like a player wants to spend an entire campaign just trying to fill in all the pages of the book with designs. That's kind of cool, but giving someone a book with 100 pages and then making it so that they can just suck whatever design is on them off into a needle. Like you don't need 100 pages if you can just suck the design off into the needles. Like you could buy like a bajillion needles and like you'd never run out of slots. Like 100 pages in the book it's too big. You'll never ever fill that all the way up. I do like that you cannot put spell bangers on other people. It's just for you. Again, it draws on that idea of like high-level illusions are just warping reality. Like only you fully understand how this work of art, I keep using the fingers because even in the art, they like have it on hand. It's your interpretation of how that spell works. Bang! Even if you put it on someone else, they're not you. They don't think exactly like you. So it may not function the same way. It doesn't give them any kind of spells. It's just a cool design that you gave them, really. But, like I said before, when you use a spellbanger, the tattoo is gone. You have to reapply it. So you have to like really prepare what you want to do and be very wary about your spellcasting uses because you technically have like way less options than other people do at any given time for the most part. Clearly you have more than a warlock who's only got the 2 and then they gotta take a nap, but like compared to other people it is strange that like once you cast that spell's out of your system until you draw it on again. Like it's not like I cast that spell as a warlock, I go to sleep, I can cast that spell again. No, you have to reapply that spell now if you want to use it again. There is a whole harvesting system in here. It's very bare bones, but it works. Where like you need certain material components for specific tattoos, and you got to go out and harvest them. I was not expecting a harvesting system in a book about tattoos, but here we are, and I'm here for it. Anytime you can add in weird harvesting things, I think that's great because it's weird. It's honestly weird that they're not built into the rules to 5e. Your 7th level ability, called Art Loan, you can use an action to transfer magical tattoos from you to another creature within 5 feet of you that has an available attunement slot. I hate that this is how it works. Like, oh, this is my tattoo. I worked on this real hard. Like, I worked so hard to make this. Here, you can borrow it. When you get to a long or short rest, the tattoo disappears from them and comes back to you. Like, you don't have to do anything. It's just you temporarily gave them your tattoo. I hate that idea in game world, in real life. Hate the idea, but the idea that you're giving someone a buff temporarily from you, like you're just legitimately giving them one of your powers for a day or what have you. That's cool. I do like that idea. I just, again, hate the idea of implementation. Expert Tattooist, your 10th level ability. When you have 3 magic tattoos applied, they're taking up all your attunement slots. You gain another attunement slot, but it's only for magic tattoos. So if you're building a tattooist, I get that you want to do tattoos and what have you, but you're basically almost, in a sense, forced to only use tattoos. And that just seems weird. Like in a game where anything can happen, to be forced to only use the same kind of item, even though, yes, you can get way different abilities from different tattoos. it's just weird that you're forced to only use tattoos. At 11th level, again, I'm going to just make a comparison to Warlock here. You get 2 new abilities. One is that during a long rest, a 6th or 7th level spell is a spellbanger, which is sort of like a Warlock where they get like a higher than 5th level spell once per long rest. Kind of that idea. Kind of that same idea. And then you also get, when you use art loan, so when you give someone one of your tattoos, your tattoo stays. You just gave them a copy. That honestly makes more sense from an in-game perspective. They still lose their copy at the end of the next rest, but like this one makes more sense than you just taking your tattoo off and giving it to someone temporarily and then having it respawn on your skin. Do remember, this is a 2014 rules thing, so subclasses work that way. And the subclasses are Tattooist styles. You can be in the neo-traditional style, and they're basically like the fighters of the group. Like if you want to actually beat people up, you become a neo-traditional style tattooist. Or you could be Cerebellum style, which is more based on magic use. Neo-traditional is you're getting good with weapons in addition to your tattoos. So they're kind of like warcasters because your low-level action spells become bonus actions. That's kind of cool. And then Surrealism, like I said, is more spellcasting related, but it also just gives you more options to cast spells. Because again, most of your spellcasting is coming from your spellbangers. Like you have to either see or figure out how those spells worked, and then you cast them once, and then you have to reapply them if you want to cast that same spell again. So this just gives you way more options to be able to cast spells more regularly. Now, finally, we're going to make it into the actual tattoos, which are what make up the bulk of this book. They are separated into different designations of where they are on your body. So the first set are head tattoos. And I'm going to just say something here that might, I don't know, make you think differently of me. But there are some tattoos in this book that are just in the wrong place. What they do, what effects they have, and where they are on your body makes absolutely no sense. And it's not like you couldn't just move that design. You totally can. There's going to be a lot of tattoos where I'm going to look at them and be like, no, that should be on this part of my body. It's the only place that makes sense. And I get it. I get it. It's magic. I understand that. But they're wrong. And they're wrong. They're just wrong. We are 100% not going to go over every tattoo in the book. I'm just going to talk to you about the ones that I took notes on. Beyond the breakdown of each of the tattoos, there's the design on like someone's body, depending on where it is. Sometimes it's a fully drawn character. Sometimes it's just like a sketch of a character or like a body and where that where that tattoo would be. I'm doing this because I'm looking at the cleric's tattoo, which is on your neck. And then there's a lore for them. Some of the lore stuff, like you could make whole campaigns out of what the lore says. And other times it's like, have you ever played the game before? Like such a weird dichotomy between them. It's cool that each of them have a lore. I'm not going to lie. You didn't have to add that, but you did. And that's cool. And also the idea that it's a picture of the tattoo on a person and then a picture of the tattoo by itself, because a lot of the people have like curves and stuff and you can't see the whole design. That's really cool. That was a really good way to show off each of the tattoos. It really was. But the cleric's tattoo honestly just seems like a pain for your party. Anytime you're hit by a fiend or undead, as a reaction, you can make the tattoo shine brightly, but it's not creatures of your choice. It's just everyone. So anyone in a 10-foot radius has to make a DC 15 wisdom save or become stunned until the end of the next turn. So if your cleric's in there fighting with the rest of the team, everybody's blind now. Now I also need you to understand that the way this is written, it also includes you. So it doesn't say all creatures besides you. It just says each creature within the radius. So potentially you're also blinding yourself. I realize that is not the intent here, but that's not what was written. And some of these spells feel like that. Like there was an intent behind them. As like all homebrew, there's an intent behind it, clearly. But like there was an intent and then you just like barely missed the mark by what you wrote, that's fine. Like if your DM's good, they're gonna figure out what you meant, okay? Then we get to stuff like the Bulwark tattoo, which is pretty much the first one in the book that gives you a bonus based on how many tattoos you have. So the tattooist, for sure, not only is like this their thing, but they are almost doubly incentivized to just cover themselves in tattoos. Because not only do they just get more, some of the tattoos, like the Bulwark tattoo, you get a +1 bonus to your AC for having this tattoo. And then for every other magical tattoo on you, you get a +1 bonus. If you do equip all 5, which is what you can do if you get to max level, you'll have a bonus 5 to your AC, which is nice. And yes, again, you are sort of forcing your tattoos to only take tattoos as their magical item, but I mean, like, whatever, you do you, boo-boo. This is just a nitpick on my end, and it's not specifically related to any of them except that one that stops people from flying. Some of these tattoos, wherever they are and whatever they do, they can affect people so far away from you without ever having left your skin. So like you can just like look at a bird and be like, I don't like that you're flying, and the bird comes down because you have a tattoo. Like that's silly to me. Like that's hard to justify. And I know our suspensions of disbelief are all crazy because we're playing a game of make-believe. But that's silly to me that I can just be like, yeah, I got this tattoo on my chest and I hate that birds fly, so get down here! And the bird just falls because your chest is glowing. Like, that's weird. That's silly. This doesn't say you can't flavor them, but I just think it's silly. We're going to get to ones that speak against me specifically. Like, they just make me upsetty spaghetti. The Hateful Tattoo and Orange Fury. There's too much math. We don't... Listen, we're not coming to D&D to be like, yo, I need more math. We're not playing Pathfinder, okay? We don't want more math. We'll have enough trouble just adding up the numbers from all our dice, okay? Like we don't need to do multiplication and stuff. Like, don't do that. Like this 60-foot radius, DC 16 dex save, or you take necrotic damage equal to 8 times the number of charges on the tattoo. Like, bro, come on. Nobody's doing that math, okay? Nobody wants to do that. Orange Fury, the same. Damage equal to 6 times the number of charges. Nah, bro. No. Nobody's doing that. Too much work. One that has great flavor and everything, though, is the Hero's Tattoo. You could base your entire campaign solely off the Hero's Tattoo, because it's just... The Hero's Tattoo is basically Maui's tattoo from Hawaiian folklore, or Moana, you know, The Rock. But you could make an entire campaign solely off of this. The DM tells this player, like, oh, there's a prophecy. That player goes out, fulfills the prophecy. Now the tattoo gets his exploits, and like it sort of moves around and you can see his exploits being acted out. That's so cool. Clearly, it's way more magical than anything else, and it is in fact legendary. But each time you fulfill one of those goals and the tattoo starts to fill itself in more, you get to upgrade one of your ability scores. That's a crazy upgrade. Of course, this is legendary, which means that you can just keep going until all of your scores are at 20. Maybe your entire back is just covered in your exploits by the end of the campaign. Or maybe they keep telling you about prophecies and you just can't fulfill any of them, and it's so sad. And then finally you do something that you didn't think was great, but it had such a huge impact on the world, or even just the people close to you, that it suddenly appears on your back. And you don't see it because it's on your back, but the people in town do. And you're like, oh, I feel invigorated. Maybe I really am the hero that everyone else thought that I was. Bam. It's great. This is probably the most flavorful tattoo in the entire book. And then, if you do want to apply the idea that you could just take the tattoo off of someone and put it on someone else, what if, when this hero retires, or they die, someone takes that tattoo off and gives it to someone else to mark them as the new hero. Now they have to start from scratch. But they'll have all of the previous heroes' exploits. And then they can just feel bad about them, basically. Stasis Tattoo is really cool in theory, and you could use it for like a very pivotal moment in your campaign. But it would be so difficult to plan out for that action to occur properly. Especially if you're using it on a bad guy. Like, sure, you could surround one PC to also pause them in time, or rather unpause them in time. But like, the rest of the party's not going to let that happen if you're just freezing 2 people. You can use it as like the minions run out of this bad guy and they go and freeze party members so he can have his 1v1 or something. Honestly, that's a pretty flavorful... Okay. I might have to use and abuse that in the future. I said before, some of these tattoos make me think, have you ever played the game before? Some of these tattoos also make me think that some people have no idea what balance is. So there's the tamper tattoo. And what it does is, whenever you roll a d20, you speak the tattoo's command word, and you orient fate to either the best or worst possible outcome. If you rolled a 1 to 10, your roll becomes a 1. If you roll an 11 to 20, your roll changes to a 20. There's no limit to the amount of times you can do this, according to the book. So, no matter what, you either crit fail or crit success. Every time. You are putting divination wizards to shame. You can't put this in a campaign. You're making one player only crit. No. This needs obvious balance. This is anarchy at the table. They have the Troublemaker tattoo, which is like a weird lion's tail, like Red 13, and it gives you a +5 bonus to athletics checks made to climb. But it's prehensile, and it can like grab things and what have you. But like the way that they're implementing this makes it seem like they think tails, especially ones as thin as this, are made for strength as opposed to balance. I do not know why this was athletics and not acrobatics, because then they're like, oh, spider monkeys are real good at climbing and what have you, and using their tails to get into good positions and stuff. Yeah, but the spider monkey, the tail is not for strength. It is definitely for dex in this case, okay? If it was strength based, you'd be able to hang from it. That is not what you do with a tail this thin. There's a very rare tattoo in here called the Unfettered Tattoo. And I'm just not willing to give this to a player. Like this one, I'm absolutely never using in a campaign because it's too much. While this tattoo's on your skin, when you cast a leveled spell using an action or a bonus action, you can then cast another leveled spell in that same turn. And you can do it as many times as you want. It does have a single use ability that you can only do once per day, where you can change the casting time of a 1 action spell to a 1 bonus action. So, like, you're just a spell casting damage machine with this. Like, spellcasters didn't need this kind of buff, okay? I know we talk about this a lot on DM Roundtable especially, where like all homebrew had a niche. What was the niche at the table for Unfettered Tattoo? Was it, I feel like everyone's doing more damage than me, even though I'm casting Fireball every turn? Like, shut up, man. There's a legendary tattoo in here that goes on your arms called the 1,000 Cuts tattoo, and it's like 2 angelic looking blades are on your forearms, and you can do this ability where you basically make a tornado of swords. And the way that it is written is you have to count the number of creatures that are small or larger, and then it does 5 times the number of those creatures, up to 50 slashing damage to everyone that's in the area of effect. Why did you not just write 5d10 damage? Make it easy on all of us. Why are we doing all this weird math, man? Like, just roll the dice. It's legendary. Let them use this, okay? You can only do it once a day. Let them have their 50 damage tornado of swords, all right? up to 50 damage. Sure. Just let them roll for it. Nobody wants to do this extra math. Nobody wants to count, especially if what if there's like fighting a bunch of pixies or what have you. Like, I'm still gonna hit them. There's gonna be swords everywhere, dude. All right. There's a thing in this book where most of the time the tattoos that you're cast that do damage deal acid damage. I don't know why that's the case. Maybe the idea was that like you got ink on you so it burns. I don't know. Anyway, I think if you're warping reality via your illusions, especially with spellbangers and what have you, like you're pulling into the weave, you should be able to choose whatever kind of element you want. And I'm gonna absolutely make it that way. So like the ink ball tattoo, no idea why it deals cold damage, but unless they want you to think that it's blue because it's basically a spirit bomb. This is one of the coolest ideas. I would love to make this a spell or give everyone an ink ball tattoo. This is such a fantastic ability. But you speak the tattoo's command word and a floating ball of ink forms between your hands. And as long as you concentrate on it, you can make this ball bigger. Each turn, it gets an extra d6. So it starts at 8d6, like a fireball. As long as you're concentrating on it, next turn you add another d6 up to 16 d6. So you can go 8 turns. And then you can throw the ball at a point within 50 feet of you, and a 20-foot radius sphere is created. Does cold damage. Whatever. I don't care about the cold damage. Whatever color your tattoo is, that's the damage it's going to do, man. Like, we don't have to stick with cold. It's silly. But the idea that you're just building up a spirit bomb, just like, lend me your energy! Except in this case, the cool thing is your teammates have to protect you to make sure that you don't lose concentration. So you're just like, oh, oh, oh. And it does actually have a limit. You can only do it once per day. Once you've thrown it, you can keep making them. I don't know why you keep making them, but you once you throw it until the next dawn, you can't do it again. But you're just building that spirit bomb. This is the guys. I can take him out, but you have to protect me. Move. And all your teammates are like covering for you, and it's fantastic. I just slapped the hell out of the microphone. I apologize, but like all your teammates are like, we gotta protect him. Make sure he doesn't take a hit. And you're just like, and then you finally throw it. Boom. For 16d6 damage, bro, in a bag, in whatever element you want it to deal damage in. I don't give a shit, okay? I love this. This is one of the coolest things in the book. Hold the line! We actually talked about this during DM Roundtable, the Spells number 6 episode. Why there was a spell during that episode of DM Roundtable that didn't get more powerful, but you could just hold on to it for a while. And we were like, why? This makes no sense. Why is it not getting bigger each turn? Then I'm just holding it for no reason. This is so flavorful, so cool. Protect me, team, and I can do this! Like, fantastic. Also, if you just want basic gist ideas for quests, for adventure hooks, anything like that, read through the lore in this book. Just reading the lore sections for each tattoo will give you like a bajillion adventure hooks. It's honestly one of like the fact that there's lore for each and every tattoo is fantastic. So there's a legendary tattoo in here called the Punchline Tattoo that goes on your arm. And while this tattoo is applied on your skin, you can store energy in it by remaining still. Not by taking damage or anything, which would honestly make more sense in this case. But each turn you stand still, you build up a charge. But if you move, take an action, bonus action, or reaction, the tattoo loses all charges at the start of your next turn. However, as a reaction, when you hit a target with an unarmed strike, you can unleash your stored energy. So think of it like Black Panther's vibranium suit. Like bam, bam. When you hit someone with your fists after you just haven't moved at all, you've just been there. Presumably taking it, okay? Like, because you're not moving, you're not doing anything. Each unarmed strike you unleash for each charge you have deals 20 extra force damage. you will have the strongest fists or feet in all the lands. It, like, also gives me Big Gentle from Marvel vibes. The idea is clearly like the vibranium suit, but honestly it makes me feel more like Gentle, because I feel like he does a lot of not moving, especially because when his powers kick in, it hurts his heart. Then we come to the Smithy's tattoo, which I just feel like is too many. It's like a hat on a hat for your weapon. Like, just upgrade your weapon, man. Like, silly. Like, you put the tattoo on your skin. You give your tattoo to a weapon. We're not going to worry about the metaphysical ramifications of you putting something from under your skin under the skin of your weapon. Okay, we're not going to deal with that. No. It's magic. Don't get it twisted for that. But why not just put on, because we're going to get into this a little bit later, you can tattoo your items. So why do I have to put a tattoo on my skin so that I can transfer it to a weapon? Why don't I just put the tattoo on the weapon? It makes no sense. It's just a hat on a hat. Like, you just add an extra step. Just put it on your weapon. If you're gonna, you don't just need to go on your hand first. Just put on the weapon. The weathering tattoo. We were literally just talking about this in DM Roundtable. How, like, I don't ever want to deal with weapons durability and getting broken and what have you. It's just too much to manage. But I like the idea of the weathering tattoo. Like, it's almost like a lightning bolt coming down, like all the way down your arm. Like, you smack someone and you're and that jolt through their system like lowers their AC, because now they're like just a smidge slower or what have you. And you can do this up to 5 times. I love that idea, but I can guarantee you if I'm running a combat, I'm gonna forget about that. I forgot I gave a wound to the Avatar Cryonax in our last session, where, like, oh, he's basically poisoned, and I still rolled all his rolls normally. He took 94 damage to the chest, okay? Our barbarian got a crit, and then he swung again and hit, and 94 damage in one turn, bro. I had to give the guy something. He almost broke 100 damage as a marshal. Like, absurd. Now, again, remember how at the beginning I said some of these tattoos are just in the wrong spot? There's a tattoo that goes on your legs. Like, it's near your ankles. It's called Death's Grasp. It lets you speak with the dead. Why the fuck is that on your ankles? And then it has Play Dead, where you can slow your heart rate and breathing, and your skin becomes cold. But it doesn't say you have to lay down for it. It just says that happens while you're standing. Why is that on your legs? This should be on your chest or your neck. Probably just right over your heart, to be honest. Makes the most sense for where this placement is. I have no idea why Death's Grasp is on your ankles. If someone wants to explain to me the reason, please let me know. We're going to get to my favorite spell. I have brought this up multiple times during DM Roundtable. Sorry, my favorite tattoo in this book. We're gonna get to my favorite tattoo. Inkball is my favorite tattoo that I want to use. Favorite tattoo that I hate is the Foul Gas tattoo, because the way that this book arranges items by rarity makes me feel like the people playing don't understand, like, how the world functions. So the Foul Gas tattoo lets you release a cloud of stinky gas, where if you fail a DC 13 con save, you take 3d6 poison damage. Now, this is uncommon, meaning you can go through like 2-3 towns and at least one person is going to have it. That is like the idea, probably more than just that one person. But the lore for this spell says, oh, pranksters love to, like, go into a tavern and basically fart. And sure, if I was a prankster, I would love that. However, me dealing 3d6 damage in a 20-foot radius around myself in a tavern is not attempted murder. It is absolutely murder. It is premeditated murder, because the average commoner has 1d4 health. They're dead. He just walked into a building, farted, and everybody died. Like, you can't say that this is uncommon to the point where people are using this, and lore-wise, that there are pranksters that just go into buildings and do this. They're probably killing someone. Everyone with a fart tattoo would be shunned for sure. Like, oh, sometimes they fart and kill people. Like, bro. Speedwalker's tattoo. They had me in the first half. I was like, oh, just something that makes me walk faster. And hey, it's something about your legs. That makes total sense. Yes. Your walking speed increases by 10 feet. Perfect. We could have just stopped there. But then it has an ability. As an action, you speak the tattoo's command word to cause your walking speed to slowly increase over the next hour. For the duration, your walking speed increases by 5 feet every 10 minutes for the next hour. After 2 hours have passed since using the tattoo, the effect ends. Bro, just tell me my speed went up, okay? Nobody's worried about that kind of duration. Stop. That's too much math. Again, stop. Just make it simple. Make it simple for us dumb people, okay? As we move a little further into the book, we get to tattoo sets, which are like, oh, if you get this tattoo and this tattoo and this tattoo together, you get a new bonus effect from them. But I personally don't like any of the sets presented in the book. But I will say, if your tattooist is only putting tattoos on their body, if the DM wants to be like, yo, those tattoos make sense together, here's your new thing, that works for me. I'm 100% on board with the idea of tattoo sets. Like, you get certain tattoos together, they give you a new ability. 100% on board with that. I just don't like any of the options presented here. Listen, like, some of the abilities that you can do infinitely, like the one that makes you roll 1s or 20s, that's absurd. That's game breaking. But like I said before, you can go down, and there are what this supplement calls hexing tattoos, and those are basically tattoos that you apply to your weapons. Now, we're not going to get into the idea that suddenly you're tattooing things. If your weapon was made out of leather, I could totally understand. It's magic. We don't need to worry about how you're tattooing under the metal. We already talked about that. It's weird. It's the idea that you could, put a design on a blade. Sure. Okay, whatever. There's a thing about these hexing tattoos where the book specifically states you can only put them on mundane weapons because this basically makes them magical. If the weapon is already magical, you cannot apply a hexing tattoo to it. I understand the idea of balance here, but if I were to run these, you could for sure put a hexing tattoo. Like, you could draw a sigil on a blade that was just a +1, just a +2, just a +3, had no other abilities. Because just because it's a +1 and like you want to add an ability to it, do that shit. It doesn't make sense that you can't apply an ability to something that doesn't already have an ability. Do you know what I mean? You can for sure save space and not confuse your players by something with like 10 billion overtuned abilities. But like giving it one ability, if it's just a +1, +2, or +3, I think makes total sense. One of the hexing tattoos is the exposure tattoo. When you bop someone with this, they have to succeed on a con save, or you roll 2d10, and you're supposed to re-roll if you get 2 of the same number. A creature then becomes cursed, and they're now vulnerable to 2 things on this d10 table. Now, most parties can't do all kinds of damage. And I do want to stress that specifically, these are all magical damage types. Like, it's not bludgeoning, slashing, piercing. So your marshal is bopping someone and hoping that the spellcasters on the team or somebody else has the correct damage type to hit them. I think this is hard to work with because it's like against it. It's too random for real team synergy, but also flavor wise, you have to flavor this specifically. Like, sure, you could tell them meta wise, like, oh, they're vulnerable to this, but how would either of you know if that person was vulnerable? Like, actually flavoring this in world is difficult. Like, oh, this person is now vulnerable to acid. How would that person and how would your character know that that is now the case? Like you have to make the tattoo flash or something. Like it's hard to flavor in world. Once you move past tattooing your weapons with hexing tattoos, again, we don't need to worry about how you're getting the ink inside your metal blades. Whatever. Nobody cares. You move on to divine tattoos, which are like full body sets of tattoos. And generally speaking, they come from like a god from a specific domain. And some of these are so flavorful, so cool. And almost all of them, for some reason, and I say some reason, I know the reason, it's because they take up like all of your attunement slots. These are like legendary, tier 4, whatever you want. Like this is the end game stuff. A lot of these tattoos, though, would make for some really good abilities on BBEGs. Like they could just be your bad guys, and this is all they got going for them. So they take up basically all your attunement slots, but almost all of them let you summon a weapon. Because, again, if you're a tattooist or you're going into tattoos, they want you to only use tattoos for your attunement slots, meaning you have no room for a magic weapon. So a lot of these divine tattoos that take up all your attunement slots, they do let you attune to something else, but they also summon some kind of weapon, because generally speaking, you wouldn't have that weapon because you've only been attuned to tattoos this entire time. And that's all the tattoos in the book, really. But there are some more things in the book. Don't worry, this review isn't over. I had a feeling this was crowdfunded, but I didn't really think of it until I got towards the end, when I realized that after all the tattoos in the book and the new class, there's also an adventure and there's some new spells. And I was like, oh, I don't know why, but these feel like stretch goals. And I was correct. They are, in fact, stretch goals. I wasn't the one who kickstarted this. It was Grimjack. Big shout out to him, because he's basically sponsored his video. Like, he gave me this book. I'm looking through it, and I'm glad that there's extra stuff in this book. It's really, really cool. And when he sent it over, I've even had it in the section of my stuff to go through in the items section, but there's more than just items here. It's more than just the tattoos. This is a really good supplement if you want to look at some art, and if you really like the way they implement tattoos in 5e, which it's not for me. I don't like it. That's not to say I'm not going to put magic tattoos in the game. I for sure would love to. I already had plans for it, because one of my friends loves tattoos. So I was like, when we start the campaign, like, yeah, sure, somebody will be able to put magical tattoos on you, and you'll get them, like downtime activity, like getting a tattoo. If it's a big tattoo, you need a lot of work put into it and what have you. And maybe they come up as feats. I'm not quite sure yet, but downtime activity makes a lot more sense. My current campaign, though, all my players are like allergic to downtime. So I don't know if they'll ever get tattoos, but I would love to put tattoos in the game. If you've been checking the repository, you will notice that the Tattooist is not on the homebrew classes list, because I worked out so many ideas of how I could flavor this class and what have you, and at the end of the day, it just doesn't fit in a game that I'm running. You can use the Tattooist in your games. I'm not here to yuck your yum. I'm just telling you that it doesn't do it for me, so I'm not going to use it. Am I going to use those tattoos? Oh, for sure. Some of these designs and abilities, I'm already thinking about how to use them for good and for evil. So yeah, I still got some mileage out of this book. I probably didn't get the maximum amount of miles out of it, but I still got some mileage out of it. And we're not even over yet. There is an adventure in this book. It's a short adventure about how you help there's a Baba Yaga robot house in this adventure, and you have to save a silver dragon, a silver dragon tattooist, which is crazy. Okay, like the in-world implications of what's happening in this story are so dumb, especially for it being a low-level adventure where you have to go save this silver dragon. Like, an adult silver dragon getting captured by like 3 bandits is the craziest thing I've ever heard. And the fact that like you run into the silver dragon's daughter, who's just a little girl, just a little dragon, and she's totally unharmed. Like, they didn't even know she had a daughter and didn't care about her. Like, maybe if her daughter got captured and she was sending you to go help her, it would make more sense. But like, the fact that 2 bandits capture a silver dragon A full-grown silver dragon, even though she was in human form. They have her imprisoned in their robot Baba Yaga base, which, fantastic. Love that it's a chicken hut, but a robot. Fantastic. Mwah. Love it. They have her chained up in the base. Nobody's watching her. They think she can't break out of some chains. She's an adult silver dragon. They make it seem like she can't do anything when she's in human form. She has like 26 strength. How did 2 humans overpower her? Like, it's... Yeah. My suspension of disbelief was not suspended for this. I think the gist behind this story is dumb. But it's kind of... It's a good hook if you change, like, just the basic gist of the story. The basic gist of the story is stupid. It makes no sense. And I will also say, the way that the adventure is written, it's basically pushing you to kill the bad guy. But, like, I don't know. In 99.99% of all games I've ever played, at least one person in your party is like, why don't we have a chat with them? I was just talking about how this weekend my characters met so many creatures in the Frostfell that, like, they were either just outright slaughtering or were beating the tar out of them. And then when, like, things get real rough, one of my players would speak to one of the creatures and the creature would speak back and they'd be like, oh no, we could have just talked this whole time. Every game has those people. Sure, there are more murder hobos, but every game has some people who just want to talk. And I feel like this adventure, like, pushes the players to just straight up murder the bad guy. And yeah, he's a bad guy, but there's other ways to complete a mission. You know what I mean? Like, that's the beauty of D&D. Anything can happen as long as you are willing to work with the DM. Like, everybody works together. It's a collaborative storytelling game. I don't really see a reason in pushing them to do one thing or another. Do you know what I mean? And then at the very bottom, if you've been checking the repository, if you become a YouTube member, as a member of pack level or higher, you'll get access to my D&D repository where I keep all this stuff that I think would work in a campaign that I was running. You can see a lot of that. We talk about a lot of the stuff that we go through on DM Roundtable also ends up in there, but stuff I do on the side ends up. So it's constantly getting updated, like constantly. There are some new spells in there, but within this book, one of the coolest spells they have is Endotherm. I love the idea of it, where you just go and you suck up all the heat around you so things get colder. It lowers people's temperatures. It slows them down. And you get faster because you've absorbed their heat. But I hate, again, there's just so much extra math. It's like all these creatures take their thing, and then you get faster based on how many small or larger creatures failed their saving throw. You could just give me a flat bonus and I'd be okay with it. We don't have to go into all this extra stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, I love the idea, but that extra math is going to be, ugh. I just had a conversation about this with Valley of Egeria, where I don't know who did it first, but people just accepted biomancy as another school of magic. Like, it's so common in homebrew stuff that you see biomancy as a school. Like, it's so common. So frog skin is a biomancy spell, and I understand the situations where you would need to have frog skin. I like the idea that you can start. It says melee spell attack, so like you're like bleh, and you're trying to just touch people. You can try grappling, but you'll deal poison damage, and you can keep it going for up to a minute. But then there's a whole section on grappling here where, like, people who try to grapple you have disadvantage and they'll probably get poisoned. But also you have disadvantage on grappling people, which is unusual. Usually in cases like this, other people have disadvantage, you have advantage. But in this case, you both have disadvantage. So you're not trying to grab them. You're just hoping they grab you even though they're at disadvantage. Like, it's very situational and very strange. It should have been like you have advantage because it's harder for them to wriggle out. Not that you both have disadvantage trying to hold the other person when part of this ability is all about just getting stuck to that other guy. And then Stench is the very last spell in the book. And Stench is that fart that you get. It's a 3rd level spell that's uncommon. again, it's a third level spell, okay? That's people are just walking into things and just and like people are just murdering folks. Like it's almost an 80% chance to kill a commoner. The damage is on the low end for a third level spell, but the fact that it stops people from concentrating, or it makes it very, very difficult, because what it does is while you're poisoned from this fart, you have disadvantage on your concentration saving throws. It's anti-spellcaster, but it's very low damage. So if you want to just like run into a horde of mages and fart, you can do that. But like the lore that there's people running around and farting, for lack of a better term, that's crazy. They're murdering people. That's, I get that it's against spellcasters as well, so they're not meaty to begin with, but it's the lore is crazy. The lore is so crazy. Hey there, players of all classes. Thanks for sticking with me through this whole video as I just went through my thoughts on the Tome of Mystical Tattoos. I will be going through the Tome of Mystical Tattoos Volume 2 very soon, so expect that video at some point. I don't know if it'll be within the month, but I have to read the book first, so that's what we're going to figure out. Big shout out to Grimjack again for, giving me a copy of the book. That's very important for me to be able to go through stuff. So that's cool. This was a solo supplemental, so it's just me. But if you want to hear me and my friends who are also DMs talk about homebrew or just TTRPG stuff in general, every Monday night Eastern Time at 8 p.m. on both Twitch and YouTube, so you can come watch right here. We go over homebrew during DM Roundtable, which I've mentioned multiple times. You've probably seen cards go across the screen. But thank you again for watching. If you like what you saw, leave a like. If you want to see more content like this, sub. And I will see you all later in the next one. I did mention it a little bit before, but if you would like to support, you totally can become a YouTube member. You can also become a member on Patreon. There's a free tier on Patreon. And we also now have some items in the shop on Patreon. So you can click the links down below. DM Roundtable's Inner Circle, so that's myself, DM Shin, and DM Lakara, are now taking gigs, running games for people. So you can check out the shop on Patreon. We will run one-shots. We'll run training wheel sessions now. There's a link in pretty much every TTRPG related video that I make at the bottom where we'll teach you how to play various systems. Right now we're working on, we can play 5e, we can play Enclave, we can play Mothership, and we can do OSE stuff. If you want us to run you through a one-shot, run you through training wheels because you've never played before, or if you want to have character creation bootcamp where we help you make your character for your TTRPG, like build a character, we can do those too. We've got items for that. And if you specifically want to work with DM Lakara, you can check out her Start Playing Games. I will leave a link in the description below so you can go check out her stuff too. She is ready to run games as well. In the Patreon shop, though, you can do physical or digital. There's options for that. So if you're in the area of me and DM Shin, we both live in New York, we can maybe run a physical depending on how far away from us you are. Otherwise, digital is always on the table. So please check those out. And thank you all for watching. Roll dice, be nice. Have fun with your games, everybody. Bye.